Hello, everybody. It is the Blue Room. It is Blue Monday. We are back to reflect on another disappointing weekend for Everton in which they conceded a late goal. Les Roberts joins me today. Les, how are you?
I'm all right. Yeah. I think after post match, none of us were really. Well, I don't know. We were a little bit angry, weren't we? But yeah, I'm fine. The
Oh,
week the
I was
weekend's been
angry.
all right.
Like I've been like I think there's some wins which you can laugh off a little bit and you can take gallows humor perspective, but that on Saturday was just one of those which just left me. I think the traffic back from the ground didn't help either.
See,
That
we drove, so
yeah,
that's how we got the pub handy.
Yeah, well, Mark Mosey gave us a lift back to town. He obviously didn't do post much podcast, but the traffic was horrific, absolutely horrific on the way back. So just sat there stewing in that, thinking about Dwight McNeil's chance. And yeah, just by the time we got to the Denby, it's just like just say to you, then I listened back to it. I don't usually listen back to it, but I woke up on Sunday and I was like, what did I actually say yesterday on that? Because I was just sometimes it's because I've had a bevy, but yesterday, sorry, on Saturday, it was just a case of I was just so annoyed by what happened. I just
Yeah.
basically said over and over again, Everton missed an opportunity, Everton missed an opportunity. So it's good to talk about it again. But just before we get into talking about it, you said you've got some feedback from West Ham fans on the show. They enjoyed it.
Yeah. So put it up on YouTube. It's always good when the away fans get involved.
You got
So
stuck into them, didn't you, for singing about Thatcher and
I,
singing the national
I
anthem?
did, but they've not picked up on that.
Ah, okay.
Someone said, well, I can't find. Oh yeah, so Melissa Yeboah, maybe Tony's wife, said that the disrespect to West Ham is what makes your defeat so sweet. I don't think we were disrespectful to West Ham. I think we
I
set.
think Keith said they're the worst West Ham team he's ever seen. So
Oh, did he? I'll miss
yeah.
that because I think we were saying they didn't turn up, but they still won, and it's like that's our fault, really.
Hmm.
So I didn't think we were massively disrespectful. But if Keith said that, I suppose I can see where they're coming from. But yeah, just a couple of them said they sort of got away with one. You were very unlucky. We didn't deserve to win that game and wouldn't have without Areola. Someone else said Areola was on one today, to be fair. I think, as we said, he didn't really need to be, did he? Because the chances weren't, although they were good chances, the execution of them was a bit, wasn't what it should be. Basically, like, you referenced Dwight McNeil's there. I think this time last year, he buries that. I just don't know what's going on this year. Well, obviously, it's been publicised. We got injured and he's had other issues, but um, he's got to be scoring goals like that. And the keeper held on to it well, but it was right at him. The only one I can really think of that was a really good save that he made was the deflection. I think where it looped over him,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah.
did well to get back and tip that. But I think all the others were pretty. You would, as I think, as you said, didn't you? If they go in, you're looking at the keeper saying he should have saved that. He parried a couple out. Maybe we weren't quick enough to follow them up. Just the usual failings up front, wasn't it? Which is it's kind of been reflected in the comments on YouTube, really. A good one from Griff 8578 said it was one of those days, but you can't use one of those days when you haven't won for 3 months.
Yeah. That's it, isn't it?
That's the issue, isn't it?
Like that performance, I think Matt said it on the post match was very reminiscent of Wolves,
Yeah,
Luton, Fulham earlier in the season, where we did create loads of chances and just didn't stick the ball away, and then got sort of done by a sucker punch and a set piece. And I think when it's August or when it's September and you haven't had 10 points taken off, or well, 6 points now, potential for more, they are a bit easy to stomach, aren't they? Because there is a lot of time to
yeah.
go. You're not staring down the barrel of three away games and a 3 week break. You've not, you know, gone over 100 days potentially without winning a football match. And yeah, it's just one of them. Like, I think you sort of alluded to it. It just feels like at the moment the best thing that happened to us this weekend was Liverpool scoring a 99th minute winner. And
Yeah.
when you're in that situation as a blue, it's you just sort of feel like you've got nowhere to turn. And I think that's probably where like the anger came from for me. Like not in the sense that it's that they'd won at the weekend or anything like that. It was a case that on Monday leading up to that game against West Ham, we had this little shaft of light coming through the grey clouds and getting some of those points back. And you sort of thought, right, there we go. This is a positive at last. There's a long way to go and a long way before we get fully out of this massive mess we're in. But here's a positive at last. Let's build on it. And they did so much well at the weekend. They had chances. They had the game in the palm of the hand, didn't they, at 1-0. And they just couldn't find that ruthless edge. They couldn't find that ability within themselves to just grasp that game and do the decent thing and put West Ham to bed. And that's the thing that's where it sort of came from. Like it just feels like at the moment that any time there's a little way out, or any time there's a little bit of positivity around us, that it just gets stamped out in the most brutal way.
Yeah, it's like sort of it's kind of reminiscent of Beat Villa go top, isn't it? The sort of the form we're going through at the minute. It's always like, or we always had that bit under Moyes whereby we could never quite get the results we needed to push us up a little bit more up the table. It feels the same now. It's a really, really bad winless run. And I think we said before, although we've had good results in that, talking Spurs, Villa, Fulham probably as well. We have had good results within that run in isolation, but when you put them into a run like this, and then you've got, which West Ham was a winnable game, you know, looking at it maybe objectively beforehand, we may have been being a bit optimistic saying we should beat West Ham at home, but they had been on a bad run of form themselves until Brentford. So, it was a winnable game, as was Palace. I'd have been disappointed walking out on Saturday with a draw because it would have been another one of those where you're like, all right, we got a point, but it's not enough. We need to start picking up 3 points somewhere. So to go out with a defeat, it's not catastrophic, but it's kind of getting to the point where it's feeling like that. So obviously it's Man United away next. We'll do very well to get anything there. Bournemouth away, we never get anything. I know you can't call the game on past, but we never get anything there. Newcastle, same. Burnley at home suddenly becomes huge, as does Forest at home, as does Brentford at home. They are three massive, massive games. But going on the last two at home, I can't see us winning them. I can't see how if we create these chances and we're not scoring them, but how is that going to change? I think I saw you on Twitter today speaking to
Oh,
Dave
Dave
Bennett.
Bennett. Yeah.
Yeah, and sort of saying about, how much of this is on the manager. And I'm in agreement with you that, you've got to look at the players, obviously, but the manager's got to do something to put it right. He's got to. Even if it's a change of stick Jack Harrison on the left, stick Lewis Dobbin on the right, give Dwight McNeil a rest, try Chimity up front. It all sounds very reminiscent of the old show to throw the kids on, give
Mm.
them a go. But when it's not working for this amount of time and the amount of chances that we're getting, he's got to do something. Whether it's doing extra training on something, changing the way the strikers play, playing different strikers. He's got to do something. The results are ultimately on him.
Yeah, I find just to sort of like go give a bit of context to what I was saying to Dave. Like I was largely in agreement with him. He was effectively saying that the manager's been a bit let down by the players, and he had some XG stats sort of backing it up. I think with 14 goals on the performance, and Calvert-Lewin on his own accounts for six of that,
Yeah, which
which
is
is
the same
obviously a
for Brentford,
huge,
isn't it?
yeah, that's a huge outlier in that sense. But like I was just sort of saying to Dave, and I don't know the answer to this. Like this might be absolute bollocks in that sense, but I just think it's really interesting the way that when we talk about football, that when we talk about the defense, and we talk about Everton this season, and under Dyche, we will say in the main the defense is playing really well. He deserves a lot of credit for that, for the way in which he set them up for Branthwaite, for Tarkowski's for the progression of Mikalenko. We've done really well defensively, and the manager's got that bit sorted. And then when you look at the other end of the pitch and it's not performing well, it's that's out the manager's hands. He can't
Yeah.
do he can't do it. He can't score the goals for them. He can't score the goals for them. And I suppose there is a bit of truth to that in that sense. And maybe if you go through a 5 game run like we did at the start of the season, or a 10 game run where your XG is way out of kilter, and eventually it does sort of come back. And it looked like it was going to do that, didn't it? When we went on that run where we
Yeah.
were pinching wins and we weren't conceding goals, it felt like this is our payoff for the XG early in the season when it wasn't going for us. We're starting to win these really narrow games. But by and large, throughout the course of the season, like it feels like every time we come out the ground when we've drawn in a frustrating way or lost, you get some stats from somebody saying Everton were miles better than their opposition today in terms of the XG. And over the course of the season, we're this low down. And again, this might be absolute bollocks, but I just feel like over the course of 20, 25 games, is that unlucky? Like I just
Yeah,
wonder if there's something that there's something within the way in which we play that is solely focused or mainly focused on shape and set pieces and being pragmatic and playing with physicality and all those things that we know about Sean Dyche now and his management style. Does focusing on all of them blunt our forward players and our wide players a little bit? You know, if you're Dwight McNeil or you're Jack Harrison and you're being asked to leg it back the entire game to cover your fullback, which we all love. I mean, you know, and if they didn't do that, we've given stick to a degree. But if you're asked to do that to the extent that you are in a dice side, surely when you get into the penalty area like McNeil did at the weekend, and you do that over the course of a season, you're not rested, you are running to the ground. That's got to have a knock on and cumulative effect on what happens when you get chances. You're not going to be sharp, are you? You're not going to
yeah,
be alert to it. And I just wonder if that's something that is what we're seeing now, in the sense that these players have been running to the ground a little bit, and it's had a physical toll that we saw over Christmas and into the new year. But I just wonder, is that sharpness gone a little bit now, um, after over a year of Sean Dyche and the way in which we're playing and what they're doing in training? Because it doesn't feel to me, and you know I might be totally wrong here again, but it doesn't feel to me like they work on attacking patterns of play in training. I'd be surprised with that. You know, maybe just it's just Tarkovsky and Mikalenko on the same pitch, just pinging diagonals to each other.
yeah.
That maybe that's what it is. But I just feel like maybe there's something to this XG underperformance that's not just, well, there's nothing the manager can do with this. He can't stick the ball in the back of the net. Maybe there are other things which are having a knock-on influence on it.
Yeah, it's a really good point because if you are sort of running those wingers and saying you got to get back and defend, it does blunt their effectiveness going forward. And as you say, when they're getting these chances, if they're not like doing so much like shooting practice and training or whatever, or they're not getting these chances in training, it do. I mean, there's no excuse for the one McNeil missed. He should be burying that.
I mean,
But
on the training videos, they look amazing, don't they? The
yeah,
shooting, like I don't know what else.
I also think one of the issues is like too many people now look at XG as a stat in isolation, and you can't look at any stats in isolation. You can't just say, "Oh well, the chances are there; they should be scoring these goals," because you've got to look at the stats alongside all other stats and metrics to do with the game. It's just one stat in a load of, when I did football stats years ago for the regional dailies, and all we did was um, where was the goal scored, 6 yard box area, outside the area, how was it scored, header, shot, volley. It was just dead basic and dead rudimentary. Obviously, since then, it's flooded with stats now. So to look at XG on its own is a bit like looking at possession on its own. It makes no sense. It's not a true representation of what happens. So when you've got people saying, well, the chances are there, they should be scoring. The XG is this. You've got to look at the eye test as well of when you're in the ground and, what they're doing with these chances and stuff. And just on the point about the way the team's set up, it was really, really telling against West Ham, and it's been noticeable for a lot of the season, but there's no one overlapping down the wings. Nobody at all. So Dwight McNeil was really central when Mikalenko had it. Sometimes when Dwight McNeil had it, Mikalenko wasn't overlapping. There was none of that on the right. And that does suggest to me that the players are keeping in a shape, which is to say, if the away team get the ball and start attacking us, you've got to be back for defence. So you don't want to be caught up by the byline, which doesn't make any sense because that's what your midfielders are for. If your fullback overlaps, your midfielder drops in. I mean, Gareth Barry was the absolute master at doing that, wasn't he? And it's just a dead basic thing that your fullbacks and your wingers overlap. Um, Also, I think a big problem is keeping Jack Harrison on the right. Like I said before, maybe switch him to the left because he's so left-footed. I mean, he did put a few crosses in with his right at the weekend, but he weren't very good because he really is very, very left-footed. Um, so I think there's a case for saying even switch the wingers. We're not even doing that now. We used to do that, didn't we? Where McNeil would go over to the right, Harrison
Mm,
on the left, or whoever was playing on the right go on the left. And switch them about. It doesn't seem to be anything like that. So it does feel like the forward play, it's a bit of an afterthought.
mm.
The way the defense was with Martinez, it's like the reverse of that kind of thing.
Yeah, Martinez didn't practice corners, did he?
Yeah,
Or set
exactly.
pieces. Like it's like the inverse, isn't it? Like you said.
Uh,
Yeah, and I think the other thing as well that we're seeing is that like over the last few weeks, certainly, look at the game at the weekend, two late goals, Brighton, late goal, Luton in the cup, late goal. Um, it does sort of feel as though physically we're starting to wilt a little bit. And again, like that feels like the cumulative knock-on impact of what we've just been saying there, in a sense that and again, this is all the manager's fault because he's not had much to work with in terms of the squad. But if you play all these players for 90% of the season, they're going to get knackered. And
yeah,
it's not, I don't think it's been any surprise. He's left Brighton last week against 10 men, and we wilted in the final stages at the weekend.
yeah.
That fair goal was just. I know we kind of given up by then. It's the last kick of the game, isn't it? But just watching their lads stream forward in the last minute
I
and
know.
us trying to get back, just it was really sort of telling that the physicality of the team had just gone, and it just feels like when certainly like now and the way in which we play, like I think we get into good positions because of the manager and the way in which he sets us up, like Brighton away. I mean, we get into a good position in that game because of the set piece. Obviously, which helped us score. We got a good shape and we stifled them for a long period. But it sort of feels like in the last few weeks we've got into that position and it's like, well, what do we do now?
Yeah,
They haven't really known whether to go for it and kill the game off. Um, Weirdly at Brighton, they sort of just carried on going as normal. And then when they went down to 10 men, they went really defensive, didn't they? Just sort
yeah.
of let
It was
them have
dead
it.
strange. Yeah,
And then at the weekend again, they got caught in between, didn't they? And I was thinking about this on Sunday again. Like after McNeil has that chance to go 2-0 up. I don't know if you remember, but like Spirit of the Blues like started up like massively and it was really loud and everyone was like, come on. Like it felt like everyone in that ground was like, right, this is where we go on and kill this game. And then they got the corner literally midway through, I think the second
yeah,
verse of it, and they scored. And it's like, oh. And it just feels like the fans are like were aware of the moment to seize it and the players didn't quite get it. And I just think we're getting a bit twixt in between at the moment in regards to what we do when we get into a good position because we can't keep the ball. We can't really counter attack because we've got no pace whatsoever
yeah.
in the wide areas. And yeah, it just feels like we're getting into good positions because some things the manager's doing, but other things that he can't do and hasn't necessarily got the players to work on means we can't cling on to them, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it comes back to that sort of seizing the initiative in a game, doesn't it? So when you go 1-0 up, it's as good a time as any to try and get another, but it's also a time when you're really quite susceptible to conceding. So you kind of got to get that balance right, but there has got to be a point where, I like counter-attacking football. I like soaking up pressure and pitting teams on the break. It's exciting to watch, so long as you're not like backs to the wall all game.
Do you think
It's
this
an
team can do that though?
Well, that's what I mean. There has to be a point where if you're not doing that successfully, or if that's all you've got, there is a point somewhere where you've got to do something different. Um, an issue for me as well, just talking about those late goals, is it's a physiological thing, maybe with the players now getting tired, but it quickly becomes a psychological thing. Conceding late goals in 3 games in quick succession, that suddenly becomes a thing where like, oh, this is a thing now. And it gets to like 75 minutes and you think, right, here we go. It can quickly become a thing. But,
How many
that,
teams have had that park end celebration this season, like in front of the
oh,
away
I know,
end,
it does me
like
head in.
late on? This is it's
Yeah,
so often, hasn't it? Like just
yeah,
player scoring and running off in front of that away end, doing a mad
yeah.
celebration, like
It's
so many
happened.
times.
Yeah, way too much. And interestingly, I know we've had stick in the past about saying this, but it could come down to substitutions as well.
Mm.
I've been reading Pat Nevin's book, his first book, and he's saying in it basically he says the obvious thing whereby after about an hour, players start to get tired. He said, and as a player, it's your job to be the least tired one of those players, so you don't get brought off. And he's sort of saying like if he came up against an opponent who was a match for him, he'd just try and outrun him for as much of the game until he got knackered, and then he could take him on and stuff. Um, and if you think about it, if these players are staying on the pitch, I think it was the first sub 73 minutes, Calvert-Lewin.
Yeah, roughly, wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, about then. So if these players are playing best part of 75 minutes every single game before a sub comes on, and even then it's usually the same substitutes, you maybe got to change it earlier. just to sharpen like key positions up at least. Because don't forget as well that the fact that the strikers aren't scoring affects defenders too.
Mm.
If you kept the team off for 60 minutes and your team hasn't scored, you start feeling the pressure then. Gets to 70 minutes, you've still not scored, especially if you've had lots of chances or it's still level like 1-1 like it was at the weekend. That affects defenders because they're thinking, Christ, we've done all we can here and they can't put the ball in the back of the net. And it does affect them. So I don't know, there's a lot of work and a lot of positions to be done. And I think this is where it comes on the manager. He ultimately, regardless of whether his players are, skying easy chances, he's got to find something to make it work so we start winning games. Now, whether that comes down to, as I said before, using different subs, using different players, he's got to find a way to make it work because that's his job. And I think people for me can say all they like that he's not the one who puts the ball in the back of the
Mm.
net, but he's the one who's got to find players who can put the ball in the back of the net.
I did sense a change of tone in this post-match interview. I don't know if you saw it. Like, I think usually he's very, everyone knows what his tone is like. It's
Yeah,
quite forthright. It's quite positive. There did seem to be a tinge more anger in there at the
right,
weekend. And he was sort of saying we need to take collective responsibility without really saying it. It felt like it was more
right.
directed at the players in the sense that, we all need to start scoring goals. It's bizarre that we didn't score goals. And he was sort of emphasizing the we, and it felt like by emphasizing the we, he didn't really mean we. It felt like he
Yeah.
meant you lads need to start scoring goals. And listen, some people are like that, and I don't mind it myself in a sense because I suppose there's got to become a point where maybe the thing he does less is bollock them all and say, listen, again, we don't know, this might have happened already, but maybe he goes into that dressing room and goes, listen now, this is absolutely shite. This,
Yeah.
we need to start doing more in front of goal. Like, I've been patient with you all. It's got to stop now. And like, maybe you go for the tough love, brutal approach. Like, he obviously knows that the play's in there, but I think it's got to be something different. I don't think Sean Dyche as a manager will be silly enough to say this is just weird. This is just weird that this keeps happening. This is bizarre. This keeps happening because
Yeah.
it's happened for ages now. And if you don't do anything to try and stop it and just hope the numbers eventually will come round, then he's being a bit foolish. I think he's smart enough about football to know that he needs to try and do something different. And maybe they all just need a rocket up their arse. And I think as much as there's a preconception of him, I can't imagine him being that manager very often. I can imagine him being quite methodical and try and, emphasize positive aspects when he's in the dressing room with them. But it just felt like at the weekend that maybe the law has been laid down in that dressing room and he's had enough of it now. And hopefully he's shocked a few of them into life. Going to the game at Old Trafford on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you'd hope so, as you said. He doesn't seem like the sort of manager who just like fly off the handle at the slightest provocation, does he? He does seem quite measured. Despite his appearance and his voice, he does seem like a pretty measured fella who'd be quite level-headed. But yeah, I think you're right. I think that could be the way to go about it now. And I think, there's a responsibility on the players as well to start calling it out. So
Hmm.
as I said, I mean, obviously I'm like goalkeepers union because of Joe and defenders union because I was a defender. But if you're seeing your strikers miss chance after chance as another player on the team, especially one with the responsibility of keeping the ball out, you've got to say to them, this isn't good enough. You've got to
Hmm.
start sticking them away because we can't keep everything out every game. They have kept a remarkable amount of clean sheets this season. Is it 8 now?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think. Which is unbelievable. That is like top 4, 5, 6 position defending that is to keep that many clean sheets. That's top end of the table stuff. Um, as I said, it's polar opposite at the other end, and we've known it's a problem for a long time, like a very long time. But it's kind of critical now, isn't it? It feels like we've got through by the skin of our teeth the last 2 seasons, and I still look back and think I have no idea how we've stayed up there.
Hmm.
Basically on the basis of teams being worse than us and getting a couple of like key results in the running. Um, but we can't keep doing that, and this team's got to find a way to win, and it's gonna be hard with these games coming up. And looking at it, our away form, our away performances have been better than the home performances, and the teams we've got at home, there's 3 6 pointers in there. I know Oh, there's four, isn't there? Because we've got Sheffield United as well. I know basically Sheffield United and Burnley appear to be probably done out of the three relegation spots, but even so, that's 4 6 pointers at home.
I remember the lockdown game against Sheffield United when they were relegated. One
Oh
of the worst
God.
points. Jefferson.
Has that kid
Oh,
ever scored since?
I don't know. I think he's probably retired. He's probably given it up. Just very quickly before we finish, we only got another 2 or 3 minutes to go. Um, Beto did score. He had a mixed day, didn't he? We didn't
He
really speak
did.
about him much on the post match. What did you make of him? I've seen Dave classically kicking off about his sentimentality after he scored, and how it matters for nothing, but that does matter to people. Interestingly, I thought that he was having his best spell of the game in all round play just before he got taken off. It felt like he was sort of growing into it a little bit, and then he got brought off. But he scored, I suppose, which is good, and he's big and awkward, and I think that's kind of all I've got at the moment. But that's all right, is it? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we should write him off because we've done that with players. I've done that with Mikalenko, and he's probably been our best player this season. He's just a really good like fullback now. So I wouldn't want to write him off at all because that's unfair, especially first season in England and all that. Much tougher league than what he's come from. And he has got attributes. He runs all game. He is a handful. I think unorthodox is probably the word, isn't it?
Hmm.
Even his header at the weekend, you could say was unorthodox.
Shoulder, wasn't it?
Yeah. um, but he's got to be scoring the penalties.
The
If you're the
chance
striker,
before the chance before it as well. It's a huge
yeah.
chance, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh God, yeah. In the where he got
One
in
on
the
one.
area, yeah,
Mm.
the 1-on-1, yeah. Yeah, he's got to be taking those chances. All right, if you got those two chances in a game and he scores one, that's not a bad return. But if you get a penalty and you pick up the ball and you put it on the spot, you've got to be sure you're going to score that. Now, I don't know. I don't know how confident you were. None of us were confident.
I was downstairs getting a pint, so I was sort of hearing it through people coming down the stairs, and I was like, "We got a penalty." I
Yeah,
was like, "It's right," and then someone came down saying, "Beto's going to take it," and I was like, "Oh no!" And then someone came down and went, "He's missed it."
yeah.
It's
So,
just phases of emotions, and then actually
yeah,
see any of it. Yeah,
I mean, the inevitability of him missing it was there purely because we are the last team to get a penalty. This was our first penalty of the season, but I just think I don't know. I don't think he should have been taking that penalty. I think there should have been other players on the pitch. I said on post match as well. It was disappointing that no one else sort of went up to take it. No one else actually went near him the whole time he was stood with the
I think it
ball.
must have been determined, mustn't it, beforehand that if we got one,
I
he was
get,
going to be. I think he scored a few in Italy, didn't he, when he was there?
yeah. I mean,
But
his one in the shootout was decent as well, but that one was
yeah,
terrible. I don't care what
I,
anybody says. It was a
yeah, I
rough
just look at him
penalty.
and think like you have got qualities, but
Yeah, he
it's going to
has.
sound it's going to sound silly, but kicking the ball is not one. Like running and fighting and being a nuisance, thumbs up, lad. But striking the ball cleanly, I don't think we've seen that at all from him, have we yet? Like I don't
No, we
know.
haven't.
But it's one of them. Like we got asked today in work to do a piece on who takes Everton's next penalty, and it's like, oh, goodness me, that is a hard question because I think Jordan Pickford's in your top five, isn't he?
Oh, he's top one probably. Just give him,
That's
just
mad.
give him a go.
I think Jordan Pickford and the two centre backs are in your top five, and
Yeah,
that says a lot about the options we've got. So,
I'm
um,
up. I'm up for Jordan Pickford taking free kicks as well, Jorge Campos style,
go
because we
for
can't
Sheila
take a free
there.
kick either. Yeah.
There was a Sheila there at the Bulldog on his goalie kit and all the mad colours. Was that him?
Oh,
The Paraguay.
Campos had the Mexican with all the mad colours.
It was the Paraguayan goalie who did it as well. Sheila, I'm sure
Yeah,
Sheila
I think
there
we
did.
Sheila Bear, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Paraguay fella. Can't remember his tops though.
Pickford would probably take one though. It gets saved and they counter attack and score. So
Oh, 100%. I mean, which is like a big fear for me that's going to happen anyway because he's now the midfield playmaker as well. That's
that's
like
been weird developments, hasn't it?
that needs
Yeah,
to end. I don't know where it's come from, but it needs to stop.
yeah. Stepping out as like the libero or whatever it's called.
Yeah, no, I'm not into that.
All right, we'll wrap it up there, mate. Anyway, thanks to everybody for listening. If you're watching us on YouTube, like, comment. If you are listening, leave us a rating, leave us a review. All these things help as we build up towards the game against Manchester United at the weekend and that 3 week break, which we've got stuff planned for as well. Fear not, you will have your everything fixed. But thanks very much to Les. That has been Blue Monday. up the Toffees. We'll speak to you again very soon.